It's my pleasure to introduce Guillermo Sevillano, who has kindly joined us here from Madrid. Guillermo is a multi-talented architect, doctor, PhD, wonderful father, a collaborator of IAAC through our master's program, and teaches many of our studios. So we're very, thrilled to have you here. He'll be presenting a bit on behalf of the EUMies Award allocated to their Burgersham Marquette Library 2023. 2022. Well, it was, even true, it was a UIA, and before it was a award. As well as some other wonderful wood projects, I think, that have great net connections. So that's enough for me. Guillermo.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you all for being here, for inviting me to share our work with you and also participate in this amazing conversation you're having on values we truly share and we try to participate in conversation by presenting the projects we have recently finished in our office together with some endeavors we are now working with recently. This is our website, and I would like to focus on 3 of the projects we have done in timber, which I think tackle in a more intense way what we understand about these 3 values the European Bauhaus is all about, which are sustainability, beauty, and equity. These 2 projects are the Gabriel Garcia Market Library, as Michael said, together with the cooperative Ourselves Houses in Madrid, and our house and studio located in the same area or the same plot with the cooperative. And instead, I would like to talk about these 3 values, using these 3 projects as ways of conveying these important vectors for European policy and how they tackle the sort of endeavors we do in our office. And regarding the cooperative and our house made in timber, I think even though they fulfill them related with sustainability diverse ways, we think that the cooperative is a good example because the way it deals with sustainability, which not only tackles the carbon footprint of the building and the environmental impact, but also how our endeavors as architects and our developments need to be financially, economically sustainable, and how also deal with social and psychological aspects of architecture. First of all, I would like to introduce our work in our office by opening the gates of our house and studio, which is located, as I said before, in the plot next to the converted building. It belongs to the same community, and it has this building here, which is the office, and that building over there, which is the house, sharing a private garden. As you can see here, also connected in a higher level with a bourgeois. You can see here the floor plan of the office and the house, and an interesting section showing interlock spaces and how we try to take the most out of the compact volume, and how we can also vary partially the lower level to have big windows, and locating the ground floor on this level around a meter and a half above the street level, and then we have all those spaces interlocked, reconnected, the bedrooms or the beds and in the studio. We're a small office where we work around 10 people. With an artisan approach, we are mostly focused on singular residential buildings and public facilities. We try to produce architecture and get into engineers and entrepreneurships that somehow implicate research on one side, and as this picture shows, we try to look for voids to be filled, spaces of opportunity, and things like that. On the other hand, we acknowledge that acrobatics it's not a way of, taking support, and we have to deal with multiple agents and get into multiple conversations, of course, within our office, with our co-workers, and with other agents, either human or non-human. This is the president of the cooperative, the cooperative and the community. Now we share together. And you can see here some images of our office, all made with cross-laminated timber walls and slabs, and a perimeter of shells, and we create a structural envelope where we have desks, sometimes also shelves for books or for novels and things like. Or also in our house we have couch and other shelves for display domestic objects to create a sense of home. In the last years, we've been working with timber, which is a material that we receive no education in our university. It's a material we somehow run in 2 weeks at the project we developed for a library in the Canary Islands. And since then, we've been using it with the fond interest and confident in confessing the values timber features. Of course, we're talking about the precision and the capacity of prefabricating these elements, and also we like the way that we can produce both structures and furniture, so we can move from a wide range of types of things we can produce in architecture, and we like all the hygroscopic and optic features timber to match with it. And finally, we appreciate very much the sort of social bonds, wood elements we create. That means that this is a material, from the kind of material that has been with humanity for thousands of years, and the capacity wood has to produce elements in which we like to be in touch with, we like to be contact with, we like to relate in many ways. It's quite unique. It's not something which you will find in concrete, steel, or other materials. Therefore, we've been using it in many ways, trying to take the most out of this material, and also trying to address one question or one challenge, which I think it's something that relates most of the people here, right? So what will be the future? What is the sort of aspect of this material? It's materiality and has been with humanity thousands of years, but now has possibilities, technological possibilities that are completely different and produces opportunities we have to devise in what they will be transformed. So what will be the aspect of timber buildings in the future, and how gathering facilities, houses will look like, rather than being maybe district buildings for cutting plants in the mountains or things that we are already familiarized with. that is our house. You have to go quickly through all the projects we don't have much time. Second project is the big block you were seeing behind our house and office. This cooperative that was that rises or comes from a project or an idea of a project that we were having in the office, which was based on this embryo of project that we created. We thought we were having conversations with friends and some family members that it would be great to build a cooperative together. That we needed a vehicle to do so. We needed a project or the idea of project to convey and translate all those ideas and wishes into something that we could feel and relate with in many ways. It was mostly the idea we had to be so, which we understood was quite unique and could somehow enroll other people into the vapor, and we didn't have yet the proper site to build it. The idea behind it was to create a structural envelope made of cells that create an horizontal matrix with multiple potential levels into intermediate levels in which we could feature or host multiple elements, furniture, desks, planters, meters, waters, or things like that. The idea also was to use these intermediate levels as ways of relating diagonally the spaces, introducing a vertical core with an elevator that serve all these levels, and having the stair working as an element of both vertical and horizontal distribution. That was the idea behind the project, and we thought it was powerful enough to then start looking for a site and also for partners who could join the adventure. We founded this place in the linear city of Madrid, next to the road that connects Madrid and Barcelona, which is the A2. And we produce the commercial documents, and we post an app on Idealista, which is my Fredway story for in the US. And that's how we found the other members of the cooperatives. Doing other roles or playing other roles different than just the designers. This is critical for us, so we became both real estate agents. We became also developers by being the founders of the cooperative and managing the cooperative for many years, as I was the president for many years before, and they gave the road to the president. So this was the elements we produce for commercializing the cooperative, and somehow architecture became a tool or a medium to filtrate who is joining the cooperative. So both the architectural design, of course, and the cooperative development. It was a way that not anyone will join something like this. They will only be targeted people interested in this sort of design, being empathic with them, and at the same time being adventurous, entrepreneur, kind of entrepreneur spirit to enroll in an adventure like this. Final design for the plot had featured this internal core with 2 elevators, 4 houses which were actually not the, let's say, apartments for a floor, but we had duplex typologies. So you can see here the dividing slab between the duplex and the ground floor with a private garden on both sides here, and the penthouses on top with terraces here and here. The idea was that rather than having this terrace on top of on the roof disconnected from the living room, you could have diagonal connections between levels, and that way the space inside the house became a sort of internal landscape. You can see also the distribution of the bedrooms, these bathrooms, and how almost all the rooms in the building have a facade and a window. My villa. These are some of the radius we need data of the building, around 2,000 square meters with 5 levels, and a ratio for work construction costs around 1,500 euros. We put up the timber structure, which is white. It was something strange for being in Madrid. This was it's not very easy to find a structure like this in the center of Spain. And actually, we had to take the wood from Austria to do so. When we were doing this, there were not many factories in Spain with the capacity to do so. Probably just one side then, and we finally decided to use Paderfia and Egoin wood to produce all this structure, mostly based on envelope with blue laminated timber and slats, and walls made with cross-laminated timber of red spruce. Since we loved so much the wooden structure that we wanted to expose as much as we could, which was difficult in many ways, that we had to deal with acoustic issues, insulating issues, but for us it was critical to use that structure as a support in which the users, owners of the houses will build, will construct their homes, will put their elements. So the role of this structure should not impose over the space, but it should, integrate, create an ecosystem in which technical aspect will, step aside, and the space and the formal aspects of these elements will prevail. So that implied that we had to use these quite sophisticated solutions for transitions between steel and wood, as has yielded a sort of reinforced solution to create a very subtle and capital on top, or this stair with this sort of connection between steps and actually being all held and braced together, and with this really made of glass, so elements will not turn or feel unstable, or this joinery creates a system that blends more with cabinet making than industrial carpentry. You can see, especially, for example, this dovetail connection with this sort of conic system that allows for this clean joinery without having exposed elements. Externally, we have a multi-layer system of facade with installation and some wooden elements that are detached from the structural elements inside. There is an element that will waterproof the facade and the insulating layer, and we try also to maximize the openings and reduce the variable windows to produce acoustic bridges in the facade. The result was this, and these are some images of the houses once they were occupied by the owners. You'll see that each house was tailor-made. It was designed together with the partners of the cooperative and future users of the houses. It was a long and iterative process with multiple conversations. 3D models sent catalogs of options shared with the partners and so on. And here, assuming we're also talking about the final, let's say the economic or sustainability of the prior, some of the final results of the how the cost families were pay the help of the bank, the force, and the appraisal value the houses had when we would finish the house. So there was a profit. There was not. It was more latent than real, because the owners will not sell the properties. They wanted them for themselves to live them there. And you can see here, this is the house for my brother, who is actually currently used by my sister. And you can see this is one of the penthouses on the top, one of the top borders of the cooperative. So here the living room, the kitchen connected diagonally. This is the stair that leads to the terrace on top. And you can see over here how the stair connects different spaces. And you can also see the sort of neat aspect of the joinery of the building. Okay, that was the second project. I would like now to talk to you about the Gabriel Garcia Marquez Library, and I would like to tackle now the other two values of the new European Bauhaus, which are beauty and inclusion, and what they mean to us and how we try to convey the why is a powerful concept for us that is not ours, that an American sociologist, Harry Kunenberg, actually used to define the library when he visited it after one of his books, which are Palaces for the People. Eric Lindbergh visited the Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and he found that it was an example of what a palace for the people is, which probably this book has, in American terms, have a different notion there. But he was also talking about the value and the importance of public infrastructures for neighbors and for neighborhoods and for neighbors together, and to create a network of relationships and care between citizens that will allow, for example, for situations like COVID or climate crisis, will allow to help and take care of themselves. In our case, we were not only thinking about that sort of critical condition, a basic condition of our public infrastructures, but we were more focused on the idea, on the quality of the experience of a space, and how that relates with the idea of beauty, and also how we can provide our cities and our neighbors with public infrastructure that will not only solve or provide a function that they can otherwise find elsewhere, but they will provide it with a quality and an experience that cannot be substituted. The idea is that we cannot have palaces for each one of us in the city. We don't have a space or resources for doing so,
we can have power infrastructures in which we will experience and have the features of palaces
that we can share, we have, and we can all go to enjoy. The idea for the library was mostly based on a concept we were using for some years, and we did some projects with that. One was the Helsinki Central Library competition, or the library in the Canary Islands I mentioned before. And when the competition was launched by the Municipality of Barcelona under the term of it is 3 years, when Vicente Guajardo was actually the chief of urbanism in the city, chief of urbanism in the city of Barcelona. It was the last competition they launched. We had this site for it. It was a parking lot behind a police station. It was a cross of 2 secondary streets with narrow sidewalks, and this was the place in which we had the challenge to transform into a civic and cultural hub that will gather the community and the neighborhood around. This was the operable value that we started with. But the idea behind the brand was to, first of all, there were a number of movements, and the one was to extend and the public space inside the folk, creating this arcade that will create a continuity with the tree arcade existing on the site, connecting also with some of the civic facilities that were on the other side. The idea was then to transform this building and articulated it into different blocks around a triangular courtyard that would resemble somehow a group of stacked books together. This was the render that was submitted to the competition. It's properly updated because there were many changes during the years. But you can see that this was a building proposed for a neighborhood that was lacking public investments for many years. There were actually protests in the street, and these are vindictive neighborhood in that sense. And this renders or how shows the importance of a building that becomes like the lighthouse, a place for gathering in the community, lacking that sort of infrastructure. So you can see the dark area in city that has a lot of, important buildings and like the Sagrada Familia and like some other. Internally, they built the library is based on 3 cores, 2 triangular and 1 rectangular. Around this triangular courtyard I mentioned before. Between the cores, we have trusses that act as 3-dimensional structures that connect the cores and create denser areas or denser bodies where we find the most either noisier activities for those that be more quiet conditions. And then we have also clear spaces where there's no vertical structure, the space. You can also see that the structure has different features and configurations according to the floor, and depending on the floor, and according to many conditions we added to the design. The structure is not only solving the load-bearing problems of the building, it's actually
orientating the spaces, organizing the situations. It's somehow defining the quality and the aspects and the atmosphere of each one of the spaces. And the idea is that these spaces are ecosystemically designed. That means that all different layers of the building are related, each one with the other. We don't treat the structure as a separate laylet that we hand over to the engineer, but we put the timber structure in relationship with the architectural elements, with the envelopes, with the orientations, with the views, with even the collection. That is challenge because that meant that we had to have a conversation in the earliest stages of the project about the collections and how it will relate with the structure. Usually, you don't have that. You have completely separate issues. But in our case, we thought it was important the way, and you will see why in the sort of collection of ecosystems this building offers. You can see here some of the outputs of using this timber structure as the embedded carbon dioxide in the structure, and also emissions for protection, transport, and assembly. You very familiarized with this, and you also know about the potential in terms of circularity and relationships and timber has beyond what happens on the site and how it relates with local communities, rural areas, forests, and so on. The building beyond that have or feature different strategies like the sustainability, the core yard actually, and versus the solar chimney, helping dealing with the solar gains or vertical ventilation or natural ventilation inside the building. We also have a photovoltaic panel on the roof, and we have a system of water collection for reuse for gardening and other uses in the building. The building actually has a gold LEED certificate. It was a platinum in the project, but then, during construction, things happen and sometimes you do some points. But still, though, it's quite an achievement. And you can see here also some of the data about the building. The cost surface around 4,000 square meters and quite a unique amount of exposed timber, which was by time I think it was the highest exposed timber volume in a European country. Probably now as by many thousands with other projects. The cost also around 2,000 euros per square meter, which I understand is not much. And now you can see some of the pictures of finished structure. This was the structure, the tier structure was finished just before the COVID pandemic outbreak. So the building got, the construction process got stopped for many months, especially in Barcelona, where they decided to completely stop any construction process. And the building was not covered in any way. It's completely exposed for around 6 months to water, pollution, and well, we have to, as you can see, there are a lot of bad areas and spots and things we had to deal with back then. I'd now like to show you a video of the city reports. So you get some. It's some music. Everyone can use, please. You can see the fabricated an industrialized system of CLT and laminated elements. For us, getting to know CLT and laminated structures was very intuitive in many ways, because it was
it related with things that we were actually doing, with physical models we were doing to school, with furniture we were assembling our houses. The only thing was, of course, the size.
Together with pieces of elements that you cannot handle as you're doing furniture.
You need a crane to move them. And yeah, the bolts, this, instead of like this or something this size. But otherwise, they're quite similar in many ways. In parallel to the project of the structure and the architectural, let's say, basic, right? We were developing a research on a program for the library. This was for the library of Barcelona. This was a pioneering project, and they wanted to, let's say, rethink the program of the library, and we loved the idea behind that, and we worked with them for many months, trying to respond to this basic question. So if everything is online, why going to a physical library nowadays? And this is a challenge that not only affects public libraries, it affects almost any art piece of architecture you can think of. The public square are threatened by TikTok or Instagram. Our offices spaces are threatened by Zoom, Google Meet, or other interfaces, right? So why going to the library? And what we did was looking into situations, or let's call them small ecosystems, that we found in the neighborhood or in the area of Barcelona and the Mediterranean climate or social and cultural aspect that actually portray ways of exchanging, producing, and accessing knowledge in many ways. We that those were areas or situations that were substituting what is happening in the library, and we wanted to understand, analyze what was there, and how we can then translate and take them to the library and intensify that sort of experience by using the public resources to do something that was quite unique and you'll not find or fit into an email. The idea was to, as you can see here, as we were doing this for the showcase different situations, to understand what were the elements that describe and comprise this small ecosystem. And then we got different situations and hybridized them together to produce a collection of ecosystems in the library that were offering different versions, intensified versions of these already existing conditions. And we're gonna see some of them for the library. First one will be the entrance, that we call the Agora showcase of the house. There is all this basic idea that, accessing to information is something you can do online. But if you look at the experience you can have, for example, when you go to a theater to see a comedy monologue, something completely different that if you do it with your tablet in your house. And what if you wonder what are the elements that produce that completely different information, you create a whole ecosystem that relates with the event. You buy your tickets to anticipate the event, you share it with others, both before the event and also during the event. Then you have the proper conditions to show that information or access to that information, and you can even after share with your friends, your colleagues, and so on. That whole ecosystem creates something quite unique, and properly transferred to the library, it could provide a bit different experience to these otherwise functions that happen elsewhere. The idea, of course, was that all the elements of the built ecosystem should enhance and intensify that experience by participating in that ecosystem and being as coherent as possible. The idea can secure the cross-section we have and about the exposed timber elements, a lot of facilities integrated with technical elements, quite complex in many ways. As you can see here, the way to pay. But this, which is the smallest children's library in the building, is an example of what we call ecosystemic design. The structure here is based on these horizontal cells that actually are located in the southern side of the building, which is a good way to relate with the solar exposure on that side, because the sun is vertically summer, and if winter can get it when the temperatures are colder. It's also a way of avoiding these horizontal shells, of avoiding looking frontally to the police station and facing diagonally to the tree canopy on the sidewalk. We can also produce furniture, as you can see here, for this storytelling area, and you can see also that there are some, well, these elements are movable parts that you can take with you. So this can turn into a sort of quite chaotic area at some times. And you can see also the use of the shelves for both for story books and also for changing the scale of the space and making it more adequate for small people and like our kids. One of the spaces I want to talk to you about regarding this collection of ecosystem is the Agora showcase I was mentioning before. I cannot get it much to details, but you will see some pictures here of the different possibilities that the facade has with slide windows that can operate and open with long spans, and you can understand it's a festival there created with these curtains, curtains, to create an intermediate space that can be incorporated to the town lake area here to create a smoother transition and space for either activity, the collection, sharing it, or having different events both inside and outside the library. We're gonna go now very quick through the libraries in the lowest floor. We can see there's a kitchen here and a radio station, but because they're broadcasting to the area to produce podcasts or things like that in the neighborhood, there is a multi-purpose room also. And you can see here the courtyard in this L-shaped program, the library. This is the lowest floor, and we can now take the stair. This is spiral staircase that run into the courtyard and runs vertically through the whole library. This is the ground level where we can see the Agora showcase I was showing before. The main space is clear, is no support or columns in this space, and you can see the continuity of the stair. And right here, there is this area, which is what we call the Forum of Ideas, which is a space that offers, again, a catalog, a repertoire of situations that already happen elsewhere, typologies of gathering and sharing knowledge with multiple configurations that can be reconfigurable with using these translucent elements, so you can have different alternatives for gathering and exchanging knowledge. Probably the main space of the library is the courtyard, which is actually a spiral in corners. Understanding that first the public realm is defined by the possibility of encountering something he did not expect, right? And that's the main character of the public capitation. And also because when you go to a library, you're not just looking for something you already knew you needed, but you expect to find something you didn't know you needed, something that will attract you, something that will get your attention. And somehow, not only because the collection has to work that way out, the building has to perform in that sense, offering you multiple itineraries, offering you spaces to go to, and turning the interior of the building into a landscape that you will enjoy circulating through. The last floor of building is what you call the lecture palace, and offers different possibilities of reading, from a more domestic condition to more active conditions to more intense in terms of the study conditioning. You can see here some images of that area, parts where the collection is located, and some other more informal conditions for read, has this winter garden facing south. And we always like to finish show this project by having these two images proposed. One shows the sophistication of how all the technical complexity of the building is somehow disguised and not apparent. This corner typically should be a very Artulian and heady corner of the building. It shows all these trusses you can see here should end here, and this should be like a huge support. But rather than having the core located on this vertex of the library, we have it recessed here, and there is a subtle system of transferring loads by extending the core on every other floor. And therefore, what we do is we empty the corner, and we have a super light corner of the building, which is something we were pursuing. The technical aspects are stepping aside to provide the lightest structure possible, a structure that is not telling you there's a huge effort here. Rather, it's effortless, it's providing an experience, it's participating on the ecosystem as other elements are doing. But this is completely impossible without the social density that supports this building, without the neighbors of the city, without the public institutions, without all the agents that participated during the process that make this infrastructure possible. And you can see here the super long credit details, like a film that tell you about all these important people behind this upright light. These people we had so many conversations, so many discussions, who we share tears, sweat, and many other things. And I think
I have the partner minutes to share the two more threads in the terrain. Okay. If you wanna, otherwise I can share the two. It's not two architects operators. There are two things we're now working with, and then relay is our. But yes, go ahead.
So they have a microphone or is
Suva. Thank you very much. It was very interesting to listen to you, and then I was reminded very much of the library that we have in my place, this room, and the notice room, and it's fully these multifunctional spaces, and I think most of it is also good. Is there any standard in building in wood, or because as you described, it's like there were solutions for there were different challenges, and then you attacked this challenge with some solutions. For your case, and is there any should it be any standard, but you just construct like we have if you make like high rises, for example, maybe sometime you are using modules of of different modules that you put together, and maybe this would be like to take the cost down. And then I was thinking also this, why you didn't cover the house? This that was the library that was like for 6 months, which was it was the tiles for the cost.
It was just because of the COVID endemic outbreak. The design just stopped. But it was not covered because we just finished the structure, so we didn't have to put up the covering system, the waterproofing system. All the I mean, the first thing you do after you finish the structure is besides doing that, covering it and doing the roof. But we didn't have the time. It was just the moment the COVID pandemic outbroke and they stopped. And yeah, it was dead for 6 months.
Because what I see in Sweden when they are building houses in wood, yes, sometimes they from in the beginning.
They do. Yeah, they saw.
There's some comment about this. When you mentioned this, that libraries are probably not going to be visited so much now. I think we have this because everything is digital.
Sorry.
Yeah, you said that everything is digitalized, so maybe libraries are not going to be visited so much. I think this is what I kept because I reminded churches, for example, that now churches are coming houses. Maybe libraries also can be.
Well, I mean, say that it is something that is probably happening, and also sometimes we're happy that some libraries are used by students and they go there because they like this sort of the atmosphere. The atmosphere help them to study because they are studying with others rather than being at home. But still, this if you can visit the library, it's quite close. And the moment this library opened its door, there's a queue outside with because we designed that we made all this design understanding there will be maybe a following attracting users to the library. We prepared this library actually suffered for me not the opposite. In the target, a lot of tourists, and there were actually buses stopping in front of these groups of maybe 40 people going around with headphones, and there is a tourist guide outside telling them because they cannot speak out loud in the space. But still, I think one of the things that we are more proud of is the way the community has embraced this building, the way the community uses it. And there is, I think, there's a sentence that summarizes this idea of how a palace is for the people, which is something an 80-year-old neighbor said when he got into the building the day of the opening, which was the neighbors have seen the building being raised during almost 3 years because of the pandemic outbreak and stuff and so on, but they haven't gone into the building yet. And this lady, the moment she was getting in, she said something like, "What have I done to the surface?" And this is the key idea of what public institutions can do for the universities. It's not just providing a simple function. It's just providing space that relates with beauty, inclusion, and these quite unique features that they will not find elsewhere.
Any more questions in the audience? We have a mess. Okay.
I think I missed with one of the questions, which was the standard for the standardization. This is a very relevant topic. This was something we were discussing yesterday about, the importance of standardizing, especially with timber construction to provide safety conditions and reliable, construction system that society, not only those that we are already familiarized with it, but society as a whole can rely on, so we can move on and without, all these thoughts and scary things and so on about use of these spider-based systems. We are, of course, we feel a little bit pioneers in that sense, so we always try to move ahead of standards, trying to get the most out of anything we get into. But we definitely understand the standardization is a critical issue, and actually, one of the things we are now dealing with, it's the European project to promote timber construction in Spain. It's a digital platform with some books meant to be published with 3 installments to tackle those who are dealing with timber buildings for the first time. Either designers, developers, or owners of users of timber buildings that feel that they like to do it, but they have a lot of doubts about it. They don't know how to start, and the idea is to produce this platform with a lot of experiences and even a chatbot you can talk to try to solve all these doubts, try to find the standards you might want to maybe interested to tackle all these things, because otherwise we have no either education or training or knowledge in many ways regarding this. Or it will be like a starting point for many people to get into the field and then jump into a more specialized areas or people that relate with this.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for this presentation. Really, really nice projects. I had a question about this bookshelf house or our shelf. Our shelves, yes. So you have these beautiful shelves and your glass in between. Do the shelves have some structural function? And then another question which is related: did you give the residents any instructions of how and where to place the curtains?
And where to place the curtains? Yes. There's particular question. They do have structural functions because they reduce the structural height of the columns. Okay, so the backplane form of any support was do something. They cut it tying it together. That allows to have a very slender structural system with only 40 centimeters. Keep in mind that you have to consider 60 minutes of proper insulation around, which more or less is around 4.42 liters around. So what remains of the structure is, after those 60 minutes of fire, is really thin. So yeah, although if you don't tie it together, you will always have a color. And regardless of solar protection, there is a system of onyx, not onyx, sorry, of blinds. They're completely opaque blinds in the lip in the room, in the bedrooms, and white translucent in the like screens in the living rooms. And thus they run vertically, and the blinds, the system is integrated within those wooden boxes that are outside. I could go like if you want to so that.
Yeah, and just to finish is right we're currently doing, which is again an entrepreneurship we are starting and putting in motion in the office after something we found was lacking in our area, which is places in which we push the use and promote the use of timber, and this is a center for innovation in wood biomaterials with front and mix research, prototyping, and learning. And I would just show you some pictures of the project being developed, understanding that this could be development that will relate with many things around with multiple agents, local and even globally, that it's meant to be built now into a very nice area next to Madrid, between Madrid starts here and this is Segovia in Castilla and León, and this is a national forest park, Sierra de Norte de Guadarrama, where there are two forest houses in a very nice spot with pine trees and other amazing exotic trees like sequoias, and that were planted by forest rangers many years ago and remain there. And we have these existing houses. They have our memories, including this house where the fathers of the Constitution of Spain that in 1976 used to meet and to write for some days, which so this is a quite important place. And we would like to have this center within this forest and natural park to gather people to innovate, work with wood and other biomaterials, research and prototype, produce some small scale elements, and learning in multiple ways. Something quite related with what EAAC has here in Valladolid, where we teach as professors, and we would like to take that wonderful experiences we had there, together with Michael and Vicente, to retreat to the center of Spain, where we are definitely lacking this sort of places. And the project is based on these bands that create a wooden fabric system of these sort of spaces that we are work with.